Has received guarantees from the United States and other mediating nations that the war in Gaza has completely ended. It comes hours after negotiators signed the first phase of a Gaza peace deal brokered by President Trump.
Substantive talks on the next phase of President Trump's peace plan will begin once the hostage release is complete, but that phase is likely to be contentious. Hamas has previously refused to lay down weapons, saying it would only do so when a Palestinian state is established.
That call for a future state for the Palestinian people, only referenced as an aspiration in President Trump's plan, is also a central demand of most Palestinians and many Arab nations.
Let's speak now to Nizar Farsak, former Palestine government advisor and now lecturer of international affairs at the George Washington University. Nizar, thank you for joining us. And you served, as we mentioned, as an advisor to Palestinian leaders, Palestinian ambassadors. How do you see this initial ceasefire agreement?
Well, it's definitely welcome. The massacres for the last 2 years have been horrific. So anything that stops the war is good. Anything that stops the massacres. However, everybody's concerned that once the last Israeli hostage arrives in Israel, the Netanyahu government has very little incentive to apply or implement the rest of the agreement.
What about the side that Hamas has to play here, of course, in disarming and agreeing to not play a role in the future governance of a Palestinian state, if there is to be one?
Yeah, so they seem to have accepted that. In the last few months, they have said as much, that they are more than happy not to be responsible for the Gaza Strip, and that they are willing to discuss disarmament if there are guarantees that there will be a Palestinian state. And I think a lot of your viewers are not familiar with the fact that in Palestinian history in 1982, when the Americans gave a similar promise where there was a demand for Palestinian military to leave Beirut in 1982, with the guarantee that Palestinians in the camps would be safe. A few weeks later, we had the Sabra and Shatila massacre. So it's an extremely sensitive issue for Palestinians to let go of their weapons when they know that their lives are not safe.
What would the short and interim term governance in Gaza look like then from the Palestinian perspective?
It will, of course, most likely be just focused on humanitarian and rehabilitation. The Strip has been completely devastated. This is worse than Dresden and Berlin and Tokyo, in the sense that in World War II, you had a U.S. that was completely invested in a Marshall Plan to build those countries. In the case of Gaza, I'm afraid that once the signatories leave from being in front of the cameras, Gaza will be forgotten, and it will take a decade or more for life to resume to normalcy.
What role do you think, then, partners in the region can play? We know President Trump has talked extensively about just how much he has relied upon, for example, Egypt, Turkey, Qatar. I mean, can they not step in and play an important role in precisely what you just described?
Yes, of course. They will definitely play that role, because they themselves need stability in the region and are very concerned of a worsening situation in the Gaza Strip. But that was also true back in 2005, when the Israelis withdrew from the Gaza Strip and through the Keys and left it to close basically the crossings, and the situation kept getting worse. Israel continues to control the airspace and the maritime space and the border crossings. So the fate of the Palestinian economy in the Gaza Strip is, in fact, in the hands of the Israelis. So there is only so much that other actors like the Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, and Turkey and Egypt can play. Ultimately, you need the goodwill of the Israeli government.
What about the role that the U.S. president can play? We know that he said today, for example, that nobody will be forced to leave Gaza. He talked about the possibility of negotiating towards a Palestinian state. And of course, the 20-point framework does say a credible path towards a Palestinian state. So how do you think Palestinians will see President Trump perhaps as an ally going forward?
To his credit, he's by far the American president that has been the most effective in getting the Israeli government to deliver on agreements. He is personally invested, given he wants the Nobel Prize, but also he has his own relationships with the Gulf states, with Arab allies. So he's not completely beholden to the Netanyahu government's agenda. Having said that, I think Israel continues to be able to have aid trickle into Gaza. So you might have a situation, and most likely what you're going to have is a situation like, again, 2005, where the advisor to the Israeli prime minister said that we're not going to starve the Gazans, but we're just going to put them on a diet. That is, you will have just enough goods coming into Gaza for sustenance, but not real growth. And under those circumstances, people don't have to leave, but will eventually leave, right? So it is that quote unquote voluntary immigration that's going to be caused by Israeli policies that make life in Gaza unbearable.
Okay, Nizar, thank you very much for joining us today on BBC News.
Okay,
Thank you for having me.
Let's pick up with our panelists, Joel Rubin and Clark Cooper.